Yeah. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, business credit builder. Thank you all for coming. My name is Noel A. Booker, and today we're going to be talking about the best NAS codes for funding, low risk NAS that the banks like. Okay. Now, the NAS code. In case you don't know what a NAS code is, I'm going to tell you what that is. The NAICS code is the North American Industry Classification System, which means, like, if you're a business and you apply for a loan, right? They're going to look at your NAICS code to see what type of business you're in, and they can determine whether or not you are a high risk or a low risk, and that'll determine if you get approved. They're also going to determine if you're a low risk, high risk, or restricted, right? Because like if you making bombs and guns and shit like that, that's restricted. You can't get funding for that. You got to come up with your own loot, right? So then there's high risk industries and there's low risk industries. So you want, as a business owner, to tell them that you are a low risk. And I'm gonna go over that with you today. That's what this whole joint is right now. And this is my first time streaming on Twitch. So if you're watching me on Twitch, you know what's up to the chat. Anyway, and we're testing this whole thing out, right? We're just testing this out, right? Okay. Okay, let me get back to what I'm here for. Best NAS codes for funding, low risk NAS that the banks like. Okay. Now, the NAS code, it originates when you're setting up your business and you're registering your business name. They're going to ask you what type of business you are, and that's where you put your NAS code. You need to find a NAS code. When you tell them what type of business you are, that's what this is. Okay, so today we're going to look at choosing the best NAS codes for you. And since there's also the SIC codes, but since the SIC codes are on their way out, we won't look at them, right? We're just gonna look at these little quick NAS codes, the low risk NAS codes, okay? Okay. The best NAS codes for low risk. Starting a business that's considered low risk can greatly improve your chances of securing funding. More than that, making sure you choose the right NAS code is essential to how your business is perceived. Okay? There are multiple NAS codes that could apply to a business. One may be a low risk NAS code, with certain NAS codes could represent high risk industries. Banks may avoid high risks industries in the United States. For example, if you're in the information sector and processing data collected from necessary cookies, analytics, etc., you may encounter more resistance in trying to fund your business. Well, we'll explore what constitutes a high risk NAS code further down. And now you can also go to my website and see this article in completion, the full article. We're just going to go over the basic the low risk ones, right? But the full article is at my website, businesscreditbuilder.us. Go to resources, and this is on the blog. This is in the blog. This article is in the blog. Okay. Okay. So when I get a client and I'm setting up their business, I'm deciding for them or recommending to them which NAS code to use when they set up their business name. Now, if a business comes to me and they already have their name set up, then I'm going to the Secretary of State and I'm going to try to figure out what NAS code they have already set up. Now, if you set up a business name and don't put a NAS code, then what will happen is A lender would look at it and say they didn't select the NAICS code. So what they're going to do is just decide a NAICS code for you, which is probably going to be high risk. And one thing about business is that you apply for a loan or application for an account or something like that, they don't have to tell you why they denied you. So they could deny you just because you got a high risk NAS code, and they don't have to tell you why. So it's good to have a low risk NAS code, all right? And you know that's not why that they denied you, right? And I want to also say that the most important piece of building business credit is how you set up your business. And selecting your NAS code is one of the setup processes when you um, when you register your business name. Okay, so let me go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go down and go over some restricted industries first. Let's go over some restricted industries. Industries are ammunitions and weapons manufacturing, finance, Federal Reserve banks, foreign banks, gaming or gambling activities are restricted. Okay, pawn shops are restricted. Um, Political campaigns, candidates, um, X-rated products or entertainment. These are all restricted, which means your business will be hard to get funded. Okay, here goes some high risk industries. All right, subject to stricter underwriting guidelines. Computer and software related services, dry cleaners, entertainment, adult entertainment is considered restricted. General contractors, gasoline stations, okay, or convenience stores are also known as C stores, okay. Healthcare, specifically nursing homes, assisted living facilities, and continuing care retirement centers are high risk. Hotels and motels, those are high risk industries, okay. All right. Let's see. Okay, more high risk industries are jewelry, limousine, long distance, real estate developers, restaurants and drinking places, travel agencies. Okay, those are high risk. Okay, so now let's go over some of the low risk. And when I got my new clients come in, right, I decide what they're doing. I figure out what they're doing, and then I decide something that's on this particular list that fits. Now, we don't want to lie, but we want to place it in a situation where it fits, but it's not a lie, right? And that's okay, all right? Just long it fits what we're doing, right? Okay, so let me give you some examples of low risk that the banks like, all right? Administrative management and general management consulting services, advertising, beauty salons, daycare, child daycare services, data processing, hosting, and related services, educational support services, engineering services, fitness and recreational sports centers, um, home health care services, human resources consulting services, non-residential property managers, office offices and of CPAs, offices of chiropractors, offices of dentists, offices of lawyers, offices of physicians, pet and pet suppliers, okay, pet supplies retailers, plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, residential property managers, social services, supermarkets, and other grocery retailers, and super trust, fiduciary, and custody activities. Now, all of these are low risk. Okay, so I try to fit my customers into one of these, right? Like, let's say, let me give you an example. So I got a client that their deal is that they buy and sell homes. Well, real estate is a high risk industry. So I put my client in, let's see, I'll put them in residential property managers. I'll put them in that category instead of saying, I buy and sell houses, right? So you don't want to be the guy that buys and sells houses as far as your NAICS code is concerned. For that person, I'll select residential property manager. So that fits, right? It's not a lie because we could be doing managing of a property, right? We're in the business of real estate, so we could do residential property managers. You see what I'm saying? Right? So you got to try to make it fit some, right? Okay. Um, Let me see what else we got going. Okay, that's cool. All right. That's that, right? So that's what I do with my clients. I show them, as far as the NOS code is concerned, we figure out a low risk category for them. All right. And like I said before, the NOS code is the North American Industry Classification, where it's classifying the risk of your business, right? And you can find this article the, on my blog at businesscreditbuilder.us/blog. Make sure you get a free guide on how to build business credit by going to businesscreditbuilder.us/blog. The name of this article is called Best NAS Codes for Funding, Low Risk NAS that Banks Like. Okay. And NAICS is spelled NAICS. Okay. So that's the move on that. Right. So cool. So make sure you get the free guide on how to build business credit by going to businesscreditbuilder.us. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is my first Twitch stream, and my name is Noel A. Booker Sr. So Google me, bitch. What? What up, General? What's up, General? I just call you General. What up, though? What up, though? All right. All right. Cool, cool, cool. All right. So we're gonna end this. We're gonna end this recording. We're gonna keep the Twitch going. Maybe I might do one more. All right. Let's see. We're gonna end this one.